let's talk about one of the most influential personal finance books of all time, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, in the next few minutes, we're going to break down the one core idea that completely flipped financial advice on its head. And we're going to find out why something you think is your greatest asset might actually be the very thing holding you back.
See, the whole book is built around this clash between two dads and their advice. On one side, you have Poor Dad. His advice probably sounds pretty familiar. Go to school, get a good, safe job, and work your tail off for a paycheck. But then there's Rich Dad, and his idea was totally different. He said the wealthy don't work for money. They figure out how to make their money work for them. And that right there, that's not just two pieces of advice. It's a fork in the road that leads to two completely different lives.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll dive into those two mindsets. Then we get to the book's biggest secret, what an asset really is. We'll see how getting that one thing wrong creates a trap for so many people. And finally, we'll lay out Rich Dad's plan to get out of it.
Okay, first things first. It's really important to get that rich dad and poor dad aren't just literal people. You should think of them as two different operating systems, two different ways of thinking that control every single decision you make about money.
And boy, are they different. You know, Poor Dad would say things like, the love of money is the root of all evil. Rich Dad's take, the lack of money is the root of all evil. Poor Dad's advice was always, play it safe, don't take risks. Rich Dad said, no, learn how to manage risk. And then comes the real kicker. Poor Dad always said, my house is my biggest asset. Rich Dad, he said, your house is a liability. Whoa, okay, that's a big statement, right? Your house is a liability. That one idea leads us straight to the single most important lesson in this entire book. Seriously, if you forget everything else, just remember this next part. Getting these next two definitions right is the foundation for everything.
Let's just throw out the complicated accounting class definitions for a second. Rich Dad's definition of an asset is just incredibly simple. It is something that puts money in your pocket. That's it. Full stop. If it's not paying you, it's not a real asset.
So what's that actually look like? Well, think about a rental property that brings in rent checks every month, or stocks that pay you dividends, or even a book that earns you royalties. These are true assets. They're working for you in the background, generating cash that flows to you, putting money in your pocket whether you're working or not.
So the opposite of an asset is a liability. And yeah, the definition is just as simple. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. It's like a constant drain on your finances.
And we're all familiar with these, right? Your car loan, that credit card debt, and, yep, there it is, your mortgage. Every single month, these things pull money out of your pocket. And that's the logic behind Rich Dad's big controversial claim. Your home isn't an asset because it doesn't pay you. You pay it. You're constantly paying the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the repairs.
And this right here is what separates everyone's financial journey. Kiyosaki put it perfectly. The rich buy assets. The middle class buy liabilities they think are assets. That one little mistake, confusing something that costs you money for something that makes you money, is the biggest reason people get stuck financially.
So what happens when you spend your whole life buying things you think are assets, but they're really liabilities? Well, you fall right into what Kiyosaki called the middle class trap. It's this vicious cycle that keeps even really hardworking people just spinning their wheels, but never actually getting ahead.
And you know this trap by its famous name, the rat race. It's that hamster wheel feeling. You know, you get a raise, so you feel like you can afford a nicer car. You get a promotion, so you buy a bigger house. Suddenly, you're making more money than ever, but you feel more broke than ever. Why? Because you're just working to feed the herd of liabilities you've collected.
And this cycle is so predictable, it's scary. Look, it starts with getting a job and a paycheck. Then, your income goes up. And what happens? Your spending goes up to match it. You buy more liabilities, that new car, the bigger house, but now your monthly bills are way higher, which means you have to work even harder to chase the next promotion, just to pay for it all. And around you go. That, my friends, is the trap. Okay, so how in the world do you get off the hamster wheel? Well, here's the good news. The book doesn't just point out the problem, it gives you the solution. This is Rich Dad's escape plan,
These are the rules for breaking that cycle and building actual, real freedom.
Rich Dad's plan really has 5 big rules. First, mind your own business. Now, this doesn't mean quit your job. It means your job is your profession, but your real business is building up that asset column. Second, work to learn, not just to earn. Pick jobs for the skills they'll teach you, like sales or marketing, not just for the paycheck. Third, and this is the engine of the whole thing, acquire assets that generate cash flow. Use your salary to buy things that pay you back. Fourth, understand the system. You have to learn the rules of taxes and corporations so you can play the game the way the wealthy do. And finally, and this one might be the hardest, you have to overcome your fear. The fear of losing money is what keeps most people on the sidelines forever.
You know, all of those rules, they really just boil down to one massive, life-changing shift in your focus. You have to stop thinking only about earning a bigger salary and start obsessing over how you can use the salary you have to acquire more assets. The real goal isn't just to earn more money. The goal is to build an army of assets that work for you 24/7 until one day they pay for your entire lifestyle. That is what freedom looks like.
So this brings us to one final question. And this one is just for you. Every single day, with every dollar you spend or invest, you're writing your own financial story. So you have to ask yourself, right now, in this moment, which dad is holding the pen?